Alan, I'll let you kick it off.
My name is Alan Reed, and I run a small boutique search firm called Reed & Associates. Nothing novel about that, but we launched it back in the spring, and I've been in the search business for about 11 years. I was a partner at Russell Reynolds Associates in their healthcare and life sciences practice, and then I went to lead the healthcare practice of another firm before launching a firm of my own. So I've got a small team, and we work with the same clients that we've worked with throughout my whole career, which are a mix of Fortune 500 healthcare and life sciences companies, as well as private equity and venture capital-backed companies, and doing a little bit of work here. It's more Washington-centric as well. So let's see. I got into the business. Everybody had my bio, so I just told everybody my background anyway. But I got into the business, like most people, just by mistake. It was I was a consultant in healthcare at a company here in town called the Advisory Board Company. And I was looking at what I wanted to do next in healthcare after consulting. And I had a friend from McKinsey who had reached out to all the search firms and gave me that database. I sent my information out to everybody. It was early in my career, and the guy who ran the Washington office for Russell Reynolds said, "Come on in and meet me. You know, it'd be great." And I said, "Sure, I'll meet the guy who's running the office." And so we had one of those discussions that was kind of like, well, you're a little early in your career to be on the radar of Russell Reynolds at this point because you're not a senior executive, but would you consider search? So I said, well, I'm here, and I've got a half hour still to go. So I listened, and about 3 months later, I got into the business. So it was really just it was compelling once I sat down and really thought about it. You're consulting, you're working with people, you get to focus on an industry that you care about if you're focused on industry versus function. And it's been a good run since then. So that's how I got into the business. Do's and don'ts. Wow. I think the biggest do I would say is do know who you're talking to before you get on the phone with an executive recruiter or you meet with an executive recruiter. And what I mean by that is know what they're focused on and know what they're interested in, because there are many recruiters out there that don't have a lot of time. So knowing what industry, what function, what kinds of clients they're working for, what industries, I already mentioned that, and how large those companies are and how much recruiting they're doing. I think you should ask direct questions and find out. If you can't figure it out by somebody's bio or what's on the website of a search firm, ask the direct questions so that you're not wasting the recruiter's time, or they're not wasting your time pretending to be able to help you when they really can't. I'd say the don't try to oversell your capabilities for a particular assignment or position. That won't get you very far. It'll waste a lot of your time and a lot of the recruiter's time, and it'll usually end the way it would have ended if you had been very, upfront with yourself about what you're ready to do next, and with the recruiter about what they're looking for. I think a lot of people try to oversell their experience, and it's the only thing I would qualify there is that some of the firms have two kind of levels of recruiters. Those who are doing the candidate development on the front end, who have less experience, a little less savvy about perhaps what they're screening for. And I think with those people, you may want to sell a little bit harder because they may have missed something about your background. But the experienced recruiters who have been doing it for 10 plus years or even 5 plus years, if you sell too hard, you're going to end up at the same point anyway. So those are a couple of thoughts.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sloan.
Thank you, Alan. Well, I got into the search business actually right out of business school, out of Wharton. The story goes like this. I was at and I'm sure like your experiences were at Columbia and HBS, and there were always dog and pony shows on campus. Like every night there was a presentation of something, right? Free food. Probably the same reason that you all are here. Free food and maybe some career implications some point down the line. But there was a presentation that was being given by a classmate of mine who was from the search industry, had worked at Spencer Stewart, then went back to Wharton to get her MBA. And one of the people from our career planning office who had worked at Aegon Zender, and they gave a presentation which was kind of similar to that. It was, how do you use recruiting firms as you develop your career? We all felt like we were senior executives already at the time anyway, so it felt like a perfectly reasonable thing to do. Coming out of that meeting, I was still kind of figuring out what I wanted to do, and I called an alumnus of my alma mater from undergrad, Bowdoin College, who works at Russell Reynolds, Mary Tidings, who's the head of the nonprofit practice over there. We got to talking, and she said, you know, and I'm from DC. I was coming home for Thanksgiving or something like that, and I said, do you mind if I stop by and I introduced myself and just kind of network a little bit. And I guess I had my guard down, but you know, after all, they're recruiters. They're good at it. You know, the next thing I know, I was on board. I think I met with Alan, but I met with a number of would-be, soon-to-be colleagues, and was very impressed with the business. I knew I wanted to do something that was consultative in nature. I was always interested in the people side of business, I never looked back, and so here I am. The advice that I would have in terms of do's and don'ts, I would say do pigeonhole yourself. That may be counterintuitive, but I think people tend to want to pigeonhole you anyway. So if you come out and say, this is what I am, I'm a highly technical IT executive with interest and experience in the government sector, that's really something that we can do something with. And so if there's something that you feel very strongly about, you're specialized in, go right out and say, yes, this is what I do. Now, you may have other strategies, other skills that apply to other areas, and lots of things that you may want to do over the course of your career, but that's not going to be useful to us. We will pigeonhole you if you don't pigeonhole yourself. So that is something that I like to tell people. And as far as don'ts, I would say, don't wait for the time to be right to talk about, have proactive conversation with recruiters or others about your career. I think that a lot of mistakes that people make as they think about their career and changing jobs or whatever it may be is that it's kind of a binary thing. Like, I'm either in a job search or I'm not. And I think that, unfortunately, the world isn't quite that neat, and you have to be always thinking about what you want to do next. You always want to have your resume kind of updated, and you always want to be engaged in conversations with recruiters or others about what it is that you may want to do next, because the right opportunity, the further along you get in your career and the higher up you get within an organization, the fewer opportunities that are out there that are really going to make sense for you, and it may not coincide with whatever timing you have in mind for yourself. So I would say it's always a good time to engage with a recruiter and get into a proactive conversation about your career.